The first raven came down in a tumble of black feathers and broken wings, as if the sky itself had spat it out. It struck the snow just beyond the ring of trees, flailing, leaving a smear of red on the white crust. Ser Jorah Holt reined in so hard his mare tossed her head and snorted clouds of steam into the brittle northern air. "7 hells," he muttered. "That's no way for a bird to fall." Lyra watched from the saddle beside him, her gloved hands tight on her reins. The forest around them stood still and sharp, each bare branch etched against the pale winter sky. Nothing moved, no wind, no rustle of leaves. Even the horses' breaths seemed too loud. She nudged her gelding forward, hoofs crunching. The raven lay on its side, one wing at a wrong angle, yellow eye rolling. Its beak opened and closed soundlessly until its gaze fixed on her, sudden and keen, as if a glass had slid into place behind it. "Don't touch it, my lady," Jorah said, throwing an arm across her path. "It fell at my feet," Lyra said. "It chose us." Her own voice felt strange in the stillness. The 6 riders behind them, 2 Holt men-at-arms, 3 Stark spearmen, and old Will the huntsman, shifted uneasily. The dogs whined, tails tucked, refusing to go near. Lyra swung down before anyone could stop her. The cold bit through the knees of her trousers as she knelt. Frost had formed a delicate lace on the bird's feathers, and where it had struck the ground there was a dark, slow blackening bloom. The raven opened its beak again. The sound that came out was not the croak of a bird. It was the creak of boughs in a summer wind, the crackle of fire in green wood, the whisper of leaves against leaves. Words rode that sound, roughened by a burning throat. "Daughter of Winterfell," the raven rasped. "Daughter of wolves, hear us." Lyra snatched her hand back as if stung. "What are you?" she whispered. The raven jerked itself upright, body shuddering. Jorah swore and dragged his sword from its sheath with a hiss of steel. The others followed suit, the sound of drawn blades harsh in the still air. "Hold," Lyra said sharply. "Everyone, hold." The raven's eyes rolled, yellow rimmed with red, and then they changed. Green seeped in where pupil and iris should be, a deep jade that glowed faintly, like swamp fire underwater. Lyra had seen that color before, once, in the Godswood at Winterfell, when the moon was full and she had woken from a dream of roots in her throat and sap in her veins. She had gone to the heart tree then, barefoot on the snow, and the weirwood's red eyes had gleamed with a similar light. "Daughter of wolves," the raven said again. "Daughter of the kings of ice and memory. We speak." "Who?" Her voice trembled despite her best efforts. "Who speaks?" "The firstborn," the raven said. "The true children of this land. We who carved faces in the trees when your kind still huddled in the eastern dark. We who remember before the first stone of your towers was raised. The sound it made might have been a laugh dry as leaves. You named us children, so we name you trespasser." Jorah took a step forward, sword raised. "My lady, back away." "Stay," Lyra said. "Put that down. My place is between you and whatever that thing is." "It's magic," Will said quietly. "Old magic. Older than the wall and all your swords, Ser." His weathered face had gone ashen. "We should be on our knees." Lyra swallowed. "You're the word caught. The songs said they were gone. A scattered few hiding in deep valleys and caves, perhaps, but not this. Not a voice in a dying bird, speaking with the weight of the earth. You're the children of the forest," she said. The raven cocked its head. Feathers slid aside, revealing a glimpse of gray bone under torn skin. "We were your enemy," the voice said. "We were your ally. We were your maker's hand and your doom beside. Names are nets. We crawl from them." The head tilted the other way. "Child of wolves, your people broke the pact." Jorah muttered a curse. One of the spearmen crossed himself quickly, murmuring a southern prayer. Lyra made herself hold that unnatural gaze. "The pact was made thousands of years ago," she said, "between your people and the first men. We still keep the Godswoods, the heart trees. The pact was made with those who listened." Your kind stopped listening. The raven's broken wing quivered. You cut our woods. You bled our earth. You loosed cold death to walk on feet of blue crystal and call it war. You drowned the songs of stone and sky in iron and fire. You have had your age, child of wolves. Its voice softened, almost kindly. You were given time to learn. You did not. Lyra's breath plumed. In the corner of her eye she saw Will drop to one knee in the snow. The others followed, though Jory stayed stubbornly upright. What do you want? Lyra asked. Why speak to me? Because you are of those who remember, the raven said. In your blood the old promises stir. In your dreams the roots whisper. You will carry this. Carry what? The last warning, the raven said. Hear it, daughter of Winterfell, and know it for truth. Westeros is forbidden. The land beyond the narrow sea, from the broken spear to the shadow tower. All who walk on two legs and wield iron must leave or be unmade. Silence crashed down after the words, heavy as snow from a broken bough. Lyra stared. Leave, she repeated. Her lips felt numb. Leave where? You can't mean. Across the water, the raven said. Your kind crossed once. You can cross again. Take your towers, your scrolls, your rusted crowns. Take your fire and your horse smell and your iron tang. Take them from here. This land must sleep. Jory laughed, short and harsh. We are not starlings to flock at a shout. Who are you to command the kings of men? The raven turned its head toward him. Ra felt the temperature drop. Frost thickened along the bird's feathers, crackling softly. We are the bones of the land you stand on, the voice said. We are the sap that rises in your spring. We are the memory in the stone under your towers. Its eyes flared greener. We are what made the cold swords you named White's dance. We will not argue. What if we refuse? Lyra asked. The words spilled out before she could stop them. What if we stay? Then the land itself will remember how to kill you, the raven said. Its body convulsed. For an instant Lyra saw something move behind its eyes. Branches interlacing, a network of roots glowing dimly. A sensation like fingers brushing inside her head, cool and sap-slick, made her flinch. You have one turning of the seasons from the first frost to the last thaw, the raven said in a fading voice. 1 year and 1 day from yesterday's dawn, by your counting. Then the forbidden song is sung, and all trespass ends. Yesterday, Lyra whispered, it's already begun? In the south, the message has already been given. In the isles, in the towers of learning, in the halls of kings. The raven's eyes dimmed. We speak through bone and branch and feather. This is the last word. It sagged suddenly in her hands, a dead weight. Daughter of wolves, look to the roots. Remember the pack's sharp edge. It shuddered once more, then went limp. The light went out of its eyes. A curl of white mist drifted from its beak and dissolved into the air. Lyra knelt there, the dead raven cradled in her palms, while the forest really did go silent. Behind her, Jory exhaled unevenly. We'll take it back to Winterfell, he said quietly. Let Maester Herod cut it open, see if... The raven's body crumbled in Lyra's hands, not in the way a carcass might, slowly rotting to bone. One moment it was feather and flesh and cold weight. The next it was dust and brittle scraps, breaking apart like something long dead and dried. It slipped through her fingers in a dry cascade and vanished into the snow, leaving only a few black quills and the faint outline of its fall. Lyra's fingertips tingled. When she looked down, fine green veins traced the lines of her palms for a heartbeat before fading. Gods, she murmured. No, Will said, still on his knees. Not the gods you call. Older. Jory sheathed his sword with a jerk. We're going back, he said. Now. No venison's worth this. No one argued. They rode hard for Winterfell, the dogs loping sullenly behind. The trees seemed to lean in as they passed, bare branches knitting overhead, and though the wind did not rise, Lyra could swear she heard something moving high above. A creak, a sigh, a slow, patient laugh. By the time they reached the castle, the raven's words had rooted themselves in her mind. Westeros is forbidden. All must leave or be unmade. In Old Town, Maester Ronald had already received his own warning. He was not in the rookery when it came. He was in the vault beneath the high tower's shadow, where the citadel kept things it did not entirely trust or understand. The lamp he carried smoked faintly as he descended. The air down here was always thick, heavy with the scent of old paper and dust and the tang of the sea that seeped through stone. He walked past shelves bowed with age, past crates marked with glyphs from the Far East and bundles of scrolls tied in scarlet ribbon. His chain clinked softly at his throat. The locked alcove at the end of the passage was his destination. 2 heavy bars, 3 iron locks. The key turned reluctantly in each. Inside, on a pedestal of granite veined with white, lay a slab of old, splintered wood. Weirwood, or so the records said, though it bore no face. The bark had been stripped centuries ago, and time had turned the exposed heartwood a dull, stained gray. But even now, when the lamplight fell across it, faint tracings seemed to stir beneath the surface, like veins in a human arm. Ronald set the lamp down and leaned on his staff, feeling the familiar ache in his knees. "Well, old friend," he said, "shall we try again?" It was foolish to speak to a log. But he had been doing this for 30 years, since he'd first taken the vow, and the Citadel had decided that a man with more interest in the old legends than in barley blight or palace accounts might as well be buried with them. He drew a small knife from his sleeve and pressed it to his thumb. Age had thinned his skin. The cut beaded up a bright red. He let 3 drops fall onto the weirwood. They soaked in immediately. That was what had fascinated him all those years ago. No matter how dry the wood, no matter how old, the blood never pooled or streaked. It sank as if pulled by thirst. Nothing happened, as always. The faint tracery under the surface did not flare into life. No voice whispered in his mind. No visions came. Ronald sighed and bound his thumb with practiced hands. "You're a stubborn one," he told the wood. "If you do hold any secrets, you mean to keep them till you crumble." He blew out the lamp and turned to go. The air shifted behind him. It was the sort of thing a city-raised novice would never have noticed. A tiny change in pressure, a subtle cooling on the back of the neck. To Ronald, who'd grown up in the hills north of the neck and spent his boyhood listening to wind and grass, it was as loud as a slammed door. He froze. A smell reached him, cutting through dust and old stone. The sharp sweetness of green leaves after rain. Slowly, heart-thudding, Ronald turned. The weirwood was no longer dull. Lines crawled under its surface like the paths of worms revealed when a log is overturned. They were bright, though not pale green, glowing faintly, moving. Ronald took a step closer, breath shallow. "It's not possible," he whispered. A crack echoed through the alcove. A splinter of wood popped free and fell, tinkling like glass when it struck the pedestal. Another followed, skittering across the floor to land by his boot. The glow beneath the surface brightened. Ronald felt a sudden pressure inside his head, as if invisible thumbs pressed gently against his eyes from within. He staggered, caught himself on a shelf, and bit back a cry. Images flooded him, not in the way of ordinary memory. Those came in fits and tatters, colored by feeling. The smell of his mother's stew, the roughness of his grandfather's hand. These were whole, complete, as if he stood inside someone else's life. He was moving through a forest of immense trees, their trunks twisting into the dark like pillars in a hall. Not a forest he had ever seen. The air was thick with mist and the sound of water, and everywhere the glow of fungi curled along fallen logs like spilled starlight. He looked down and saw small hands, long-fingered and bark-brown, with nails like ivory thorns. His heart slammed. His own hands were liver-spotted and pale, the skin thin as parchment. But these, when he lifted them, they moved with a boneless grace that belonged to some other body. "Easy," a voice said, from everywhere and nowhere. "Easy, Iron Servant. We do not mean to break you." The scene shifted. He stood at the edge of a cliff of black stone, looking out over a sea turned silver by a strange great moon. The waves rolled in patterns too regular to be entirely natural, and in their foam he saw flashes of glimmering things. Scales, eyes, teeth like spindled crystal. He stood before a weirwood that had never known an X. Its face was carved with such delicate care that the tears dripping from its eyes seemed ready to fall, its smile at once tender and severe. The red sap on its cheeks flowed in a steady stream, falling into a pool that reflected clouds moving far too quickly. He understood, without knowing how, that he was seeing memories ripped from the wood itself, years layered on years, each one pressed into the grain like rings. "You're them," he croaked. He didn't know if his lips moved in the vault or only this other body's mouth in the memory. "The children, you're alive. Alive," the voice said. "We endure. In root and bowl, in water and stone. We watched your kind forget and forget that it had forgotten." A chuckle, low and ancient. "You dug in our bones for fire. You wrote your histories on our flayed skin. You thought we slept while you built your sharp little castles." Ronald tried to form a question, any question. The Citadel's teachings rose in him like a reflex, eager to dissect and categorize. "Are you one mind or many? How far does your seeing reach? Why speak now?" None of that is what came out. "Why me?" he whispered. "I'm only a maester." "Because you listen," the voice said simply. "Because you dug in dark places for old tales, while your brothers chased dragons and counted coin. Because when you pressed your blood into dead, would you hoped, still, that something might answer." The presence wrapped around that last word gently, as if amused. Ronald felt an absurd urge to laugh. "Then I was a fool." "No," the voice said. "You were patient. We respect patience. It is a thing your kind seldom practices past a single lifetime." The memories shifted again. He saw cities crumble to dust under creeping vines. He saw towers of smooth black stone rise from calm seas, crowned with pale fire. He saw a line of men and women kneeling before a ring of weirwoods, their heads bowed as children, small, sharp-featured creatures with eyes like moonstone, painted their faces with red sap. He saw, in quick succession, the signing of the pact. Men and children mingling under the light of stars. Then the first axe taken to a tree with a carved face. Then fires in the woods at night, the sound of screams. "Why speak now?" he managed. "Because your age here is done," the voice said. "We gave you this time. The pact said you would keep the heart of the forests untouched, that you would honor the old places. You did not. You burned, you cut, you marched with cold death you barely understood. You broke your bargain. Now you must leave." The words hit him like a blow. "Leave? All of us? That's thousands upon thousands. Where would we go?" "Across the sea," the voice said. "There is room there on the edges, on the bones of the old cities your kind abandoned. We do not care. Go east, go south, scatter like seeds on water. But you will not root here any longer." Ronald clutched at the pedestal, knuckles white. "You cannot ask this," he said. "Do you know what you're saying? To move kingdoms? Great houses? We do not ask," the voice said, and could sound cold. It did now. "We tell. Westeros is forbidden to your kind. The land has agreed. The rivers and hills and stones have agreed. The deep things under the mountains have agreed." A faint note of sorrow entered it. "We are the last to agree." Ronald's mind flinched back from the enormity. Ships, food, war, panic, the citadel itself. "There will be resistance," he said hoarsely. "Armies, walls. Men do not give up land easily." "Land is not yours to give," the voice said gently. "You will find that walls crack and towers sink when the stone remembers who it belonged to first. You will find that roads vanish when the earth no longer wishes to be cut. You will find that iron shatters when trees lean together." The pressure in his head increased, just for a moment. He gasped. "We do not intend another war of dragonfire and cold sword. We intend something else." "What?" Ronald whispered. "Sleep," the voice said. "For the land. For us. for all that is old and tired and sickened by your noise. Ronald thought of farmers in the reach, of children in flea bottom, of fisherfolk on the fingers, men and women who had never seen a citadel or a king's hand, who would not understand what was happening until the ground opened beneath their feet. "You'll kill us," he said. "That is not our desire," the voice said. "We are not the cold ones you woke and used as spear and shield. We do not hunger for your deaths. We hunger for your absence. Leave and you will live. Cling and you will not. Pause. We will give you a year by your counting, from the turning of the frost that has just passed to the thaw of the next. Tell your towers, tell your kings, tell your chains. You expect them to listen to an old man's vision?" Ronald asked, almost laughing. "To pack their wealth and sail because some dead would spoke in my head? We speak in more than dead wood," the voice said, a hint of amusement returning. "You are one root of a wide tree, Iron Servant. We are speaking now from the far north snow to the last island in the Sunset Sea. This is courtesy, not reliance." Ronald swallowed. A thought came to him, sharp as an icicle. "If we had kept the pact," he said slowly, "if we had left the forests and the old places untouched, would you have let us stay?" There was a pause. In it, he heard endless years. "We might have shared," the voice said at last. "We did share once. We and those you call the first men walked the same paths without fear. That time is gone. Too much has been done. The land is thin. It leaks. A note of regret now. You might have been better guests. You were not." The pressure eased. The glow in the weirwood dimmed, sinking back into dull grain. "Wait," Ronald said. "Please, one more thing. Who speaks? Am I hearing one of you or all?" He felt absurdly that something smiled. "Names again," the voice murmured. "Always names. We are a choir in roots and stone. We are 1,000 eyes in 1,000 leaves. We are all that is left of those who first sang the world awake." A final touch brushed his mind, soft as a branch in spring. "If you must give us a name, tell your kind this. The land has spoken." The pressure vanished. Ronald staggered back, hand to his head. The alcove swam. For a moment he feared he would be sick. When the world steadied, the weirwood shook faintly and cracked clean down the middle, the split running the length of the log. The glowing lines were gone. He stayed there a long time, leaning on his staff, listening to the dull thunder of his own heart. When he finally climbed the stairs back into the citadel's pale light, blinking like a man waking from a dream, the world had already begun to change. On the day Lyra returned to Winterfell, the hot water in the castle springs went cold. At first they thought it was a fault in the pipes. The underground channels that brought heat from the deep earth sometimes clogged with mineral deposits or silt. But when the servants climbed down into the bowels of the castle, lanterns swinging, they found the stone dry and chill. "Stone doesn't just forget how to boil water," Maester Harrod said, baffled, when the report reached him. "Apparently it does," Lyra answered, still wearing her riding cloak, hair wind-whipped and tangled. "And that's not the only thing forgetting." She told him about the raven in the woods. By the time she finished, Harrod had gone very still. He was a southerner with the soft, rounded look of someone who had not known true hunger or true cold before being sent north. But he had lived in Winterfell for 20 years, and his eyes had the same fine-limbed lines of strain as everyone who had survived the wars. "You believe what it said," he said. Lyra thought of the way the raven had crumbled to dust in her hands, of the green veins that had briefly traced her skin, of the silence in the weirwood grove that night when she went, alone, to kneel before the heart tree and whisper her fear into the red, listening eyes. "Yes," she said, "I do." Harrod's fingers tightened on the parchment he'd been holding. "There have been reports," he said slowly, "from the Watch, from White Harbor, from the rills, ravens that flew against the wind, animals behaving strangely." A trader swore he saw an entire stand of pines pick up their roots and walk 3 paces closer to his camp while he slept. He tried to smile, failed. "I told him he'd been drinking." "And now?" Lyra asked. Now I am less sure. Lyra went to the window. From here she could see the whole of the courtyard. Men and women moved about their tasks, wrapped in furs. Children shrieked with laughter as they chased each other, breath fogging the air. The godswood's red branches rose beyond the walls, a splash of color against the white. This castle has stood for thousands of years, she said. It has burned and been rebuilt and burned again. Every time we stayed. Even when they said the others might break through, we stayed. We're Starks. The North is ours. Herod's voice was very gentle. The North is the North's, my lady. As the Reach is the Reach's and Dorne is the Sun's, and the Isles belong to the sea. Men lay claim, but the land abides. He hesitated. If what you say is true, we may not have a choice in this matter. There is always a choice. Not always, Herod said quietly. Sometimes there is only an illusion of one. That night, when Lyra slept, she dreamed of roots. They pushed up through the floors of Winterfell's great hall, thick as a man's torso, bursting stone flags and scattering rushes. They coiled around the pillars, slid between the stones, wrapped the chair at the high end of the room. Once her grandfather's, then her mother's, now hers. They twined around her legs where she sat, lifting her gently. The hall fell away, stone crumbling like sand under a rising tide. She rose through the air on a woven platform of living wood. The branches extended outward, unfolding into a canopy, a great crown of interlocked limbs. Leaves unfurled, green and whispering. She could feel every one. When a raven landed on a branch, its claws scraped her skin. Below, the land spread in all directions. She saw rivers winding like silver snakes, forests, cities, mountains, all of Westeros as she had been shown it on maps, now alive and breathing under her. Her awareness sank. She felt the press of roots against cold stone, probing cracks in the foundations of castles. She felt water changing its path, turning aside from culverts and ditches, spilling instead into old, forgotten channels. She felt a slow, deep vibration, as if something enormous shifted in sleep far beneath the mountains. A voice murmured in her ear, not words, not at first, sounds like wind in grass, like distant thunder. Then slowly it resolved. We shared this once, it said. You might have been with us. You chose otherwise. I never chose, Lyra wanted to say. You're older than I am. The voice sighed. No single you. You're kind. You're lying. Your blood has known us before. You turned away. The roots tightened around her legs. Not painfully. Not yet. You are not us, the voice went on. You could have been. But your kind bonded to iron and fire instead of stone and leaf. You could have sung with us. Instead you drowned us out. This place cries for silence. Silence, Lyra managed. This is our home. Home, the voice echoed. A small word, heavy in the mouth. We had no such word when we first walked this land. There was only here, only the long now. Home is a word of departure. You named this place that because you remembered a time when you were not here. The roots loosened. The canopy of leaves above her shook. Through gaps, she glimpsed flashes of other places. A harbor choked with ships whose sails bore 1,000 different sigils. Men pushing carts along a packed road that suddenly dissolved into waist-high grass. A tower collapsing as the soil beneath it melted to mud. You have a year, the voice said. We will not pull your ships from the water or crash your walls before then. We will not harden the soil beneath your feet to stone when you walk. Not yet. We will let you run. Go, little wolves. Go east. Some will fight you, Lyra whispered. Some will stay. They don't know how to leave. They don't have ships. They have never seen the sea. There was a pause. We will open paths, the voice said then. Not for your armies, for your ragged and your small. For those who walk and carry children close. For those whose hands are empty of iron. The land remembers more ways than your roads. Lyra saw, in a brief flash, a path through the neck opening like an old scar, dry ground rising where there had been mud, only to sink again as the last wagon passed. She saw an old, disused fort's gate swing wide of its own accord to let a line of peasants through, then slam shut in the face of armored men behind them. "Your lords will not be friends," the voice said. "They will call us enemy. So be it. But we are not cruel. We are tired." The roots uncoiled. She fell. She woke with a choke, clutching at her legs. Her sheets were tangled, damp with sweat. Her heart hammered. For a wild moment, she thought she'd find bark grown over her skin, leaves sprouting from her ribs. But her legs were just legs, pale, muscular, freckled. Her palms bore no green veins. It was only a dream, she told herself, only fear. But when she went to the window, she saw that the heart tree in the godswood had turned its carved face away from the castle. For as long as any Stark remembered, the weirwood had gazed straight toward the keep, its red eyes watching the windows of the great hall and the tower where the ruling family slept. Now its trunk had twisted a fraction. Its hollow eyes stared instead northward, toward the wall and the deep wilds beyond. The land had begun to turn its face. In King's Landing, riots broke out before the first week was done. It began at the harbor. The city had known floods and fires and sieges, thought itself beyond surprise. When the ravens came, half-frozen birds that dropped into the Red Keep's courtyard with ice in their feathers and green in their eyes, the Queen's small council listened with varying degrees of disbelief and horror, then sent out their own birds. Orders, inquiries, a plea to the citadel for calm, measured advice. By the time the first replies arrived, the water had receded from the docks. Not in a tide, creeping back to reveal slimy stone and wriggling crabs. In the space of a single night, the Blackwater rush had pulled away from the quays as if the sea had inhaled and forgotten how to breathe out again. When the harbor workers awoke, they found all but the deepest docks dry. The river still ran. It flowed past, deep and strong, but its course had shifted a few hundred yards along the bank. It now hugged the far shore, where there was little more than a line of scattered huts. On the city side, gaping, mud-slick trenches yawned where water had been. Several ships had crashed sideways in the night, their hulls cracked. Others lay on their sides, keeling drunkenly. A few sat upright on the mud as if stranded in some ghastly low tide, their gangplanks dangling uselessly in the air. "Rivers do not do that," Grand Maester Kala said, peering out the window of the tower above the throne room. "Not in their courses. Not without earthquakes or great floods." "The Septons say it's punishment," Lord Harroway muttered, "for our sins, for letting the Dragon Queens fight their war over our heads, for tax farming, for anything they like," the Master of Whisperers said dryly. "They will adjust the scripture to match the occasion. That is what they're for." "Watch your tongue," snapped the High Septon, who had been invited to the council on sufferance and was finding the tone less respectful than he thought is due. The Queen sat at the head of the table. She was a young woman yet, but war and ruling had put fine cracks at the corners of her eyes. Her hair, black as a raven's wing, had come free of its pins. She smoothed it back absently, gaze fixed on the spreading chaos below. "They knew," she said quietly. "Whoever they are, they chose this, to show us." "It may still be a coincidence, Your Grace," Kala said. She turned her head slowly. "The rivers are leaving us," she said. Ravens spoke in the voice of the woods. "Every lord from the Dreadfort to Sunspear writes to say the same. The children of the forest have returned, and they want us gone. Do you truly believe in coincidence that deeply, Maester?" He flushed. "Belief is not my trade, Your Grace. Only observation. There are many forces." "Oh, they believe." The High Septon broke in, with the fervor of a man smelling an opportunity. "My Queen, this is the Crone's lantern, lit at last to show us the path we have strayed from. The stranger himself walks our streets. We have wallowed in sin. We have taken foreign gods to our bosom, worshipped false saviors, trafficked with sorcerers. This is our correction." "It's not your gods," the Master of Whisperers said mildly. "Forgive me, Holiness," but the voice in the ravens named itself quite clearly. He glanced at the parchment on the table. Like all the messages from the citadel, this one bore the official seal and Ronald's precise, elegant hand. The land has spoken. Westeros is forbidden to the race of men. You must leave or be unmade. Ironically, that may be the closest thing to a god we have ever heard from, he added softly. Queen Elaine pressed her fingers to her temples. She had never wished to be a theologian. She had wished once to be a lady in a northern hall, to marry a decent man, to manage a keep. Instead, she had ended up with a crown on her head and the weight of a ragged, traumatized kingdom on her shoulders. Can we leave? She asked. That silenced the room. Your Grace, Collis said at last, startled. You cannot be thinking. Can we? She repeated. Is it even possible? If we were to try to move people, how many ships do we have? How much food? Where would we go? The free cities, Lord Haraway said. If they would take us. The Summer Isles. The Basilisk Isles, if we are desperate. They will smell weakness, the Master of Coin said. They will raise their prices until we bleed. An exodus of this size, if we pay in gold, we will be broke within months. If we pay with steel, we will be broke within days. If we do not go, the Master of Whisperers said softly, we may not have days. The High Septon thumped his staff. We cannot abandon the holy sites, he said. The September of Baelor can burn, the Queen snapped, turning on him with sudden, fierce weariness. It burned once, it can burn again. Sacred stones are still stones if the ground withdraws from under them. She closed her eyes, forced herself calm. If we stay, and the land itself turns against us, what then? Crops fail, rivers move, roads vanish. We starve and tear each other apart while the trees watch. We have seen what the children can do. They made the others. Whether they regret that or not, the fact remains. We cannot fight the bedrock of the continent. There will be lords who try, the Master of Whisperers said. Proud men with deep roots. They will think they can bargain, or resist. Let them try, Haraway muttered. The Northmen will never leave their snow, the Ironborn their waves, the Dornish their sands. They are stubborn as mules. We will need them, Elaine said. Their ships, their swords, their grain. If we go east, we must go together. Or our enemies across the sea will pick us off house by house. How do we get proud men to flee with us? The Master of Whisperers considered. Fear is a strong rope, he said. So is love. If we can bind the two together. He let the thought trail off. Their eyes met. She saw it in his expression. The calculation, the ruthlessness that had saved her throne more than once. How long? She asked, turning back to Collis. The Citadel says a year, one turn of the seasons. Is that? Assuming their account is accurate and that the children's promise is kept in good faith. Yes, Collis said. Plenty of time to sow chaos, and perhaps enough to organize if we move quickly. Then we start, she said. Start how? Her heart asked, faint and tired. By the time ravens reached the farthest holds and keeps, the land had already begun its slow, deliberate rebellion. In the Vale, a caravan of mules leading carts laden with grain found itself at the edge of a ravine that had not been there the day before. It sliced across the mountain road like a sword stroke, sheer-walled and deep. The ground on the other side looked unchanged. The path continued as if mocking the gap. We doubled back this way last month, the caravan master muttered, peering down into the shadowed cut. His breath smoked the air. There was nothing. Maybe you took another path, his son suggested. No, I know my roads the way I know my wife's face. His wife, bundled in wool, snorted behind them. This, he spat, this is some trick. They tried to find another way. The mountains offered no mercy. Every promising turn ended in a deadfall or a rockslide. When they returned, weary and chilled, to the spot where the ravine had opened, they found a narrow stone bridge spanning it. It had no mortar, no builder's marks. Its surface was carved with twisting lines that made their eyes ache. I don't like it, the son whispered. Neither do I, the teamster said. He tied a stone to a rope and tossed it. It thunked onto the bridge and rolled, unharmed. He looked up at the high, snow-dusted peaks. They looked back, impassive. "Move," he finally yes. Carefully, they crossed, hearts hammering. The bridge held. When they looked back, halfway up the next rise, the ravine was gone. The road ran smooth and whole where it had been, as if nothing had happened. In the Iron Islands, the sea receded from some shores and gnawed more deeply at others. Waves struck against cliffs that had stood unbothered for centuries, undermining houses that had never worried about storms. Whole villages stared as their familiar beaches became jagged-toothed mouths or drowned entirely. On Great White, an old priest of the drowned god walked into the shallows for a ritual drowning and found the water unwilling to cover his head. It lapped at his chin, then stubbornly dropped. No matter how far he waded, he could not get deep enough to sink. "The sea rejects us," he croaked, shivering, his wet beard clinging to his cheeks. "Or it has grown afraid. What could frighten the sea?" A boy asked, wide-eyed. "The land," the priest whispered, watching a wave recoil from the shore as if slapped. In Dorne, oases vanished overnight. Palms uprooted themselves and walked, their roots like hairy legs lifting from the sand, to cluster around hidden springs deep in the desert. A caravan from Ironwood woke to find their tents ringed by cacti where there had been none. Every prickly bulb was turned toward them, spines glittering. In the reach, vines sprouted in plowed fields and grew with impossible speed, covering the furrows in a choking blanket. Farmers hacked them away, sweat running, only to watch them blossom in the space of an afternoon, blood-red flowers opening like wounds. "They're starving us," a woman said, panting as she swung her hoe. "They mean to drive us out by hunger. Then we'd better leave," her husband said grimly, "before their flowers start to bite." At the wall, what remained of it, a jagged, half-melted spine of ancient ice. What few of the Night's Watch still kept vigil watched the forest move. At first, it was only their imaginations. A stand of trees seeming closer than memory placed it. A cluster of dark trunks where there had been only open ground. Then, over days, the change became undeniable. The treeline advanced, not in a galloping rush. There was no sound of roots tearing free, no hissing slide, simply shifted. Each morning, the men who climbed the ruined tower to survey the haunted north found the woods fractionally nearer. Bent old pines stood where only snow had been. Saplings pushed through the crust of ice. The dead wastes beyond the wall's northern face began to fill with a slow, creeping green. "It's coming back," the Lord Commander said, watching from the tower's broken parapet. His name was Jeremy Flint, a lean, hard man whose entire adult life had been spent in black. "The land. It's reclaiming." "Reclaiming from what?" his first ranger asked. He was older, beard gone white, one eye clouded from frostbite. "From us. From us," Jeremy said. "From the cold. From whatever we called the others. From swords of blue glass and walking corpses. From everything that happened here." He touched the melted edge of the wall, where the ancient ice slumped like wax. "Maybe it wants to forget. You had that dream again, didn't you?" the first ranger asked, glancing sideways. Jeremy didn't answer. He had roots in his mouth tasting blood and sap. A voice behind his eyes, not unkind, telling him he was free, that his watch was over. "What will you do?" the ranger pressed. "If the land itself is telling us to leave, do we still stay? Our vows say." "I know what our vows say," Jeremy snapped. Then softer, "I have worn this black since I was a boy. I took the oath before the old gods carved in red. I believed the wall needed us once. We all did." He looked north. "Now the wall is only a scar, and the gods who heard my vow tell me to go." He closed his eyes. "I think I've served my time. You can't mean to abandon." "I mean to keep my promise in the spirit it was made," Jeremy said. "We swore to defend the realms of men. The realms of men are about to become ships and cities across the sea. If there is any defending to do, it will be there." He opened his eyes. "We will leave a mark, a stone, a carved oath, for anyone foolish enough to come north after us. And then we will march south and find ourselves a boat." The first ranger stared at him. "Think of it this way," Jeremy added, "Rye. We will be deserting our post in the direction the enemy insists on. That must count for something." In the months that followed, Westeros became a land in motion. At first, it was the desperate and the quick who moved. Poor folk with little to lose packed their goods onto carts and backs and began the long walk to the coasts. Small lords with sense and fewer than 100 men stripped their halls of anything portable, locked their doors behind them, and rowed for the nearest port. The great houses hesitated. Pride, inertia, and the sheer logistical horror of moving entire regions held them fast. Some refused outright. Lord Varys of Harrenhal laughed when he read the Raven's message. "Let the woods have us if they can," he said, tossing the parchment into the fire. "This castle has stood through dragonfire and war. It can stand through sulking trees." Harrenhal had never been lucky. It had a way of punishing arrogance. 2 months after Varys' declaration, the lake the castle brooded over turned strange. Fish died in their hundreds, floating to the surface belly up. The water grew still, not glassy but thick like oil. When servants dropped buckets from the castle's walls to draw water, they found the ropes coming up gooey, coated in pale slime. Poison. Varys snarled, calling for his maester. "The Northmen, or the Queen, or some other cur. I'll find them." By the time he realized the poison was not in the water in the castle's foundations, it was too late. Roots slid through the saturated soil beneath Harrenhal's vast towers. They wrapped stone pilings, pried apart centuries-old masonry, exploited every crack left by dragonflame. Mists rose from the lake, clinging to the lower works. The great hall's flagstones grew slick. The air smelled of rot and growing things. One night, during a storm that never quite touched the ground, the tallest tower shuddered. The men who slept within woke to a slow, tilting sensation, as if the world itself had begun to lean. Cracks spiderwebbed across the walls. Plaster dust fell in thin veils. Somewhere, deep below, a grinding sound echoed like a giant's teeth. Lord Varys ran into the courtyard in his nightshirt, shouting. The ground lurched beneath him. The tower, Black Heron's Folly, which had defied dragonfire if not dragon flame, bowed like a tree in a gale. It did not fall in a single, dramatic collapse. That would have been merciful, in a way. It sagged. It sank. Stone flowed like cold wax, the lower foundations dissolving into black, sucking mud. Men screamed as the floor tilted. Furniture slid, tapestries tore. 1,000 small things cascaded in a rain of objects. The tower took 3 days to fully settle. By the end, its great height lay half submerged in the swampy ground, its topmost levels only a few stories above the lake's new surface. Roots as thick as Varys' waist coiled around its base like constricting serpents. Those who survived crawled out onto the leaning walls and looked at the ruin of their home. Varys wept, mud streaking his cheeks. "Fine," he rasped. "Fine. We go. We'll go. Are you satisfied, you damn trees?" The wind through the reeds made a sound like the faintest of laughs. Stories like that spread faster than any raven. Fear did what reason could not. Houses that had hesitated began to move. Caravans clogged the roads. Prices in every port rose and rose again as more people crowded the docks, begging passage. Lyra rode among her own people, Winterfell's banner snapping over her head. The sun was pale, the sky a washed-out blue. The air smelled of wood smoke and unwashed bodies, of fear and stubborn hope. The North was last to leave. Of course it was. Its lords were the deepest rooted, its people the most bound to their land. But even in the far-flung villages, the changes had become impossible to ignore. A shepherd from a hamlet near the Shadow Tower told Lyra, as they trudged, about the night all his flock had rushed from their pens on their own, as if called by some silent whistle, and stood facing south, eyes wide. They had refused to move until dawn. A fisher wife from the White Knife told her about the river's sudden, inexplicable kindness. How it had risen in gentle flood to float their boats downstream when they could not row, then receded just as quickly, leaving fresh-caught fish on the banks. "It's like it's helping us go," the woman said, bewildered. "It doesn't want us, but it doesn't want us to die." Lyra listened. Lyra watched. At night, she dreamed of routes less often. Instead, she dreamed of paths opening. A stand of thorn bushes parting to reveal a clear way, snow drifts forming into steps. The north went in waves. First went those who could not afford to wait. Small folk with no stores, no walls. Then the lesser houses, closing gates behind them, setting their hall's ancestral swords above the hearth one last time. Then, at last, the great houses. Lyra left Winterfell 3 days after the hot springs finally went completely cold. She walked through each hall before she went. Her boots echoed in empty rooms. The hearths were banked with ash, no fires lit. In the kitchens, the great tables were scrubbed clean and bare. In the godswood, she knelt before the heart tree. "I'm going," she told it. "You win. Or perhaps you always had the right of it. I don't know." She looked up into its red eyes. "I would ask you to remember us kindly, but I think you remember everything, whether you like it or not." The carved mouth did not move. The leaves did not rustle. But a single drop of red sap traced a line down one cheek, hanging like a tear on the edge of the carved lips. Lyra reached up and touched it. Her finger came away stained. "I will not say goodbye," she said, "because I am not sure this will be the end. Men are stubborn. We will come back someday, or our children will." She smiled, a little bleakly. "Try not to be too cross with them when they do." The wind rose, sudden and sharp, swirling the snow around her in a brief spiral. Tasted, for just an instant, of green leaves. She turned and left the godswood without looking back. On the road south, she met the Night's Watch. They were not in black, or rather, whatever had once been black had faded to gray and brown, patched with whatever cloth they could find. They marched in a tight column, disciplined out of habit if not belief. At their head walked Jeremy Flint, the wall's last Lord Commander. "Lady Stark," he said, when they hailed and met between the columns of trudging folk. "I suppose we no longer need to argue about who holds the North. The land does," she said. "It always did. We were just slow to hear it." He smiled, a flicker in a worn face. "We are going to Eastwatch," he said. "There are ships there. Not many, but enough to take us along the coast. We'll buy passage where we can, build where we must." "You?" she asked. "You will cross the sea?" He looked south, where the distant, faint smell of salt drifted on the wind. "I've spent my life staring at a wall," he said. "Perhaps I'd like to spend the rest staring at a horizon." She nodded. "Many will need guarding where we're going. New lands, old enemies, strange gods. You may find your oaths still have use." "My oaths were to the realm of men," he said. "Men will be there, so will we." They parted with clasped forearms and something like mutual respect. In Old Town, Maester Ronald watched ships leave until his eyes blurred. The Citadel had debated, of course. They had debated as the rivers moved, as the earth shuddered, as trees pushed up through their carefully tended gardens. They had debated when the high tower's lower floors began to creak ominously, when its ancient foundations sprouted fine white roots like a beard. "Perhaps this is localized," one Archmaester had said hopefully after the first reports. "A misinterpretation of natural phenomena. Panic spreads easily among the unlettered." Then the ground under the eastern wing had heaved, gently but unmistakably, and the library shelves had shifted 6 inches to the left. Panic had spread among the lettered as well. Still, they were slow to move. Books were heavy, scrolls fragile. Knowledge could not be packed in a cart like grain. Every Archmaester had his own idea of what should be preserved. "We cannot simply abandon centuries of work," Archmaester Belden snapped, when Ronald suggested that perhaps they might focus on lives first, vellum second. "Without this, what are we? Alive? Ronald said. Or not. In the end, they compromised, as scholars do, with a solution that satisfied no one. They created lists, catalogs of what absolutely must be saved, masterworks, unique histories, fragments of Valyrian lore. They loaded the most precious of these onto wagons and ships. The rest they wrapped in oilcloth and locked in the deepest vaults, in the faint hope that the land might spare some skeleton of their knowledge. Ronald walked the stacks one last time, his fingers trailing along spines. He could feel, faintly, through the soles of his boots, the slow trembling of the earth. Not violent, almost curious, as if the land were exploring the empty spaces beneath the great stone city. In the alcove where the weirwood log had lain, there was nothing but splinters now. He stooped with effort and picked up one. "Will you be gentle?" he asked the unseen presence that might or might not be listening. "With what we leave, we were arrogant. We thought we owned you. We didn't. But this," he held up the splinter, "this is the record of our arrogance. Perhaps someday you'll tolerate someone reading it as a lesson." The splinter warmed faintly against his palm. He smiled, "Right. I'll take that as a yes, or as the heat of my own hand. Either way, I will sleep easier." He tucked the splinter into his sleeve and limped toward the docks. There, among the chaos of loading and shouting and crying, he found chaos of a different sort. Men from half a dozen free cities haggled with Westerosi lords. Gold changed hands in glittering streams. A Bravosi captain pointed at a group of peasants and shook his head firmly, tapping his ledger. "No coin, no space," he said. "We take those who can pay. We are not a fleet of charity. And when the land takes this harbor, what will you do with your coin?" a woman demanded. "Eat it." He spread his hands in a shrug. Ronald watched. Something in him, old and brittle as dry paper, cracked. He climbed onto a crate and raised his voice, surprising himself with its strength. "Hear me," he shouted. "By order of the Citadel." Some people turned. Some did not. He reached up and thumped his chain, letting it clink loud. "Hear me," he said again, quieter but more intense. "We are at the end of a world. There is no time for old games. The ships that leave with empty spaces when the land is cracking beneath us are cursed. By me, if by no other." He pointed at the Bravosi captain. "If you must be paid, then take it in work, in arms, in the promise that those you carry will build, fight, labor for you. There is no profit in letting potential hands drown." The Bravosi laughed. "And if they refuse, Maester? Will your splintered land reach across the sea to punish us?" "It may," Ronald said. "And if it does not, then I hope whatever world is born from this one remembers your face." He looked at the others on the docks. "Men of the East, you have long profited from our need, our wars, our vanity. This is not that. This is everyone's survival. The land does not know your coins. It knows only weight. Take some of ours off it." There was muttering. A Lysini captain, gold rings in his beard, scratched his chin. "Work, you say?" he mused. "We could use hands to build new walls, new docks, new farms." He eyed the crowd. "Strong backs, no slavers' marks, no pox." He spat. "All right, 20 spaces, no charge. They sign contracts in the East. We settle the terms there." 40, Ronald said. 20, 30, Ronald countered. "And I will ensure that every maester who crosses the sea writes your name in the histories as one who did not shut his hand in the world's last hour." The Lysini considered, then shrugged. 30, he agreed. Ronald turned to the Bravosi. "And you, my pragmatic friend?" The Bravosi scowled. "You are more dangerous than these children," he muttered. "Fine. We take 100 who can work. No babies, no cripples." "You will take some babies," Ronald said. "Because they will grow into workers. And because if we start this new world by abandoning the smallest, then we deserve whatever the old one throws at us." The Bravosi sighed heavily. Old men and their conscience. 50 babies. No more. It was a beginning. on an island in the God's Eye, where the weirwoods grew in unbroken profusion and the faces carved into them had watched the pack's signing and its breaking, the children gathered. They had many shapes as men counted such things. Some were small and willow-thin, others squat and heavy-browed as old oaks. Their skin ranged from bark brown to pale as mushrooms. Their eyes were mostly large and luminous, green or gold or milky white, though some were black as deep water. They stood beneath the boughs, feeling the vibrations of the land's slow adjustments. "They run," one observed. Her hair was a tangle of red leaves. "And they cling. They always do both at once. They will not all leave," another said. His voice was like wind through gravel. "Some will hide. Some will burrow. They will try to become us, these last. Dig into caves, into hills. Will we dig them out?" A third asked. "We are not the cold ones," the first said. "We will not hunt them in the dark. If they can live without choking the land, let them. We are not without curiosity." A fourth, eyes clouded with sap, tilted his head. "They changed us," he murmured. "Did you think of that? They cut and burned and bled us, and we retreated. But we also grew around them. We learned their tongues. We walked in their skins as they slept. We took some of their haste into us. We are not what we were before they came. We also made the cold ones for them," another replied, dry. "Not our proudest song. That was for survival. That was out of fear. It sings badly in the roots." Their voices overlapped, a murmuring chorus. Above them, the faces in the weirwoods dripped slow, steady tears of sap. "They will return," said the one with red leaf hair. "Not these, perhaps. Their children, or their children's children. If they live long enough across the water to breed more war among themselves, they will look west one day and remember there was land here once." "We will be ready," said the sap-eyed child. "How?" the gravel-voiced one asked. "By resting," the sap-eyed one said simply. "By letting the land mend. By thickening the song." His gaze turned inward. "We are frayed. We stretch from root to root, from stone to stone. We must coil closer. Sing slower. Be deep, not wide. When their descendants come, perhaps they will find a world less willing to humor them. And if they come with wiser hearts?" someone wondered. "If they have learned that they are not the only ones who think, that they cannot cut and burn without cost." The murmuring stilled. It was an unfamiliar concept. Men learning. "Then," the red-leaf child said at last, "perhaps we will speak with them as with guests, not invaders. Perhaps we will share stories. Perhaps we will ask them to tell us of the lands beyond the sea, which we only dimly feel." "It is a long perhaps," her elder said. "We have time," she replied. "We have always had time. That is what we are made of." They fell silent, listening to the nearing thunder of water as a river changed its course, carving a new path through old stone. On the last night before Queen Elaine's ship left King's Landing, the Red Keep dreamed. Not the people in it, the building. Its foundations shuddered with slow, tectonic sighs. Cracks crept up its walls like ivy. Plans for its dismantling lay on tables, scroll-weighted and forgotten, as the lords who had argued over which stones to take suddenly found they no longer cared if the tower tops went with them. Elaine walked the corridors in a kind of numb haze. She had signed papers all day, decrees transferring titles to places that would not exist in a month, orders for the distribution of grain, edicts promising mercy for those who obeyed and punishment for those who attacked caravans. Her hand ached. In the courtyard, the dragon skulls had been taken from their dank cellar and piled in a macabre heap. Some fools worshipped them, some spat on them, some tried to chip bits off as souvenirs until the guards took that privilege away. She went, instead, to the garden on the eastern terrace. Once, it had been a neat arrangement of flower beds and shrubs. Now it was wild. The hedges had grown into low, ragged trees. The beds had overflowed with grasses and vines. The stone paths were cracked, little shoots poking through like curious green fingers. She sat on a bench whose legs had sunk into the earth. You win too, she told the garden. You and the woods and the mountains. I just hope you know what you're doing. The breeze stirred. Leaves brushed her cheek. You would see us as we see ourselves, said a voice close to her ear. She jumped. There, on the bench opposite, sat a child of the forest. She did not know how she had missed seeing it. It was small, its feet barely reaching the ground. Bark brown skin, hair like a fall of dark moss, eyes green as new leaves. Its clothes seemed grown rather than sewn, a pattern of overlapping leaves and thin, flexible twigs. Her guards were nowhere in sight. The door to the terrace stood ajar behind her, lantern light spilling out. Should I call for help? She asked after a heartbeat. If it will make you feel safer, the child said. Its voice was soft, neither male nor female, neither young nor old. They won't see me unless I wish it. Then it's a waste of breath, she said. And I'm short on that lately. She folded her hands in her lap. You're a long way from your trees. I am in my trees, the child replied. They pushed roots under your stones long ago. I am speaking to you through a rosebush's dream. That makes as much sense as anything else lately. They regarded each other for a moment. You should hate us, Elaine said. We cut you down. We burned your woods. We made monsters from your magic. We extended our wars across your face for generations. And yet you, whichever you are, sound almost gentle. Do you hate a fever? The child asked. Yes, she said promptly. You should not, it said. It is the body's way of burning out sickness. Painful, necessary. We have, perhaps, been the fever in you. You carried us across the sea in stories, in bits of wood, in the old blood that still dreamed of roots. We woke in you, to what you call whites and others in a moment of panic. That was our mistake. You made dragons. That was yours. All this time, the land has borne us both. Aside, we would like to give it a rest. You talk about the land as if it's a person, Elaine said, with desires, with opinions. It is more than a person, the child said. It is a chorus. It sings in stone and water and leaf and the bones of dead things. You call things gods. We call things songs. They are much the same. Ways the world speaks to itself. Its eyes narrowed slightly. You are taking this calmly. I had my hysterics months ago, Elaine said. Now I am too tired to panic. If I try to rage at you, will you take it personal? Personal? The child repeated slowly, tasting the word. We do not have persons the way you do. We have selves, but they are porous. We are not one, not many. We are not offended easily. That must be nice. It is quieter. The child tilted its head. You wonder if we will be merciful. Yes, she said, though I suspect I know the answer already. You will be as merciful as is compatible with your goal, which is to get us off your soil. You have some understanding, the child said, almost approvingly. We will not hunt those who leave. We will not tip ships. We will not starve those who walk. But if you build new keeps now, if you raise new walls, the land will shrug them off like fleas. It's funny, Elaine said. We spent so long thinking we were at the mercy of kings and dragons and gods. Turns out the ground itself had opinions. It always did, the child said. You simply did not bother to listen. It leaned forward slightly. You might in your new lands, if you wish to avoid doing this again in another 1,000 years. She snorted. You assume we'll last that long. You are a tenacious weed, the child said. You'll last. His gaze softened. We do not hate you, Elaine of the line of lions and storms. We do not love you either. We are curious. You break and mend yourselves in such inventive ways. And you'll watch us from across the sea, where roots and stone can feel, it said. Yes, the land under the waves is older even than this. It remembers. She looked past it, at the dark line of the distant forest beyond the city. Will you miss us? She asked. An odd question, but it had slunk up on her unbidden. Our noise, our buildings, our stupidity. The child considered. "We will not miss your iron," it said, "or your fire, or your habit of killing things to see what's inside them." Faint smile. "We may miss your stories, but you will carry those with you. Perhaps the wind will bring some back. Perhaps one day we'll come back with better ones," she said. "Ones where we learn before we break too much." "Perhaps," the child agreed. They sat in silence for a time, queen of a departing people and emissary of a land reclaiming itself. Finally, Elaine rose. Her knees ached. "I have a ship to board," she said, "and a world to end, or begin." The child stood as well. Its movements were fluid, unconcerned with the stiffness that came with age and strain. "When you build your new halls across the water," it said, "remember that the land there has its own songs. Do not assume it is empty just because you have not yet heard it." "I'll tell them," she said. "They may even listen." "Will you?" it asked. She thought of her children, waiting on the quay, of Lyra Stark's last letter, written in a cramped northern hand, talking of dreams and roots and a godswood that had turned its face away. "Yes," she said, "I will." The child's smile, when it came, was like the first crack of sunlight through leaves after a rain. "Then go," it said. "We will sleep." The next morning, Queen Elaine of Westeros stepped onto the deck of a Braavosi caravel and watched her kingdom recede. The city that had eaten an entire generation's blood seemed smaller from the water. The Red Keep hunched on its hill like a sulking animal. Smoke rose from 100 chimneys. On the eastern terrace, the wild garden was just a smear of green. As the ship slipped past the last of the harbor's broken pilings and out into the Rush's new channel, a tremor ran through the deck. The sailors swore. Elaine grabbed the rail. On the shore, the ground buckled. It was not a great, catastrophic quake. No buildings collapsed. No walls cracked. The land rose and fell with a slow, wave-like motion, as if breathing. Then, at the base of the cliffs where the city met the sea, something dark and knotted pushed through the rock. Roots, they spilled out like hair, sliding into the water. One looped around an old, abandoned quay and tightened. The stone crumbled under its grip. "That's that, then?" said a voice at Elaine's shoulder. She turned. Maester Ronald stood there, wrapped in a cloak too thin for the sea wind, his chain glinting dully. "You came," she said. "I thought the new world might need someone who remembers the old," he said, "even if only as a bad example." She almost laughed. "What will you do there?" she asked. "When we land. Argue with younger men who think they've discovered ideas I wrote about 40 years ago," he said promptly. "And perhaps plant some trees." She looked back at the receding shore. "What do you think it will be like?" she asked. "In 100 years, too. On that side." He followed her gaze. For a moment, the old, sharp, hungry researcher gleamed through the wrinkles. "Green," he said, "quiet, dangerous in the way untouched things are dangerous, full of songs we will never hear." He smiled sideways at her. "And perhaps, if we have learned anything, respected." "And on our side?" she asked. "That," he said, "is up to us." Behind them, Westeros continued its slow, deep exhale. Forests spread like spilled dye. Rivers braided new courses. Towers leaned, collapsed, or were swallowed by vines. Stone remembered the time before men and began to act as if they were already gone. Ships crossed the narrow sea in laden convoys, hulls creaking. Men and women stood at their rails, watching the line of the western land diminish. Some wept, some sang, some stared ahead at the fog over Essos, certain only that whatever lay before could not be more terrible than what they left. In the deep woods, where no human foot would tread again for generations, the children of the forest sank into dreams. They slept in hollows and under roots, wrapped in moss. Their minds flowed along the web of roots and stone, touching the slow, vast consciousness of the land. Together, they hummed the old songs, mended frayed connections, urged growth where there had been only ash. They did not forget men. Memory was their nature. They remembered the first men and their stone axes. They remembered the Undulls with their 7-pointed stars. They remembered dragons and cold swords and the crack of the wall breaking. They remembered Lyra Stark kneeling in the godswood, hand stained with sap. They remembered a queen sitting in a rose garden, asking if the land would miss her. They remembered an old maester's voice in a musty vault, asking them to be gentle with the knowledge he was leaving behind. The land remembered too. Under the god's eye, fish darted through the roots of drowned trees, weaving between faces carved centuries ago. In the gift, snow fell on clearings where houses had once stood. In spring, flowers would burst from the old hearthstones. On the Iron Islands, the sea tested new shapes of shore, then settled into a pattern that pleased it. Far to the east, on a new shore littered with unfamiliar flotsam, a child of Westerosi and Free City blood bent and picked up a piece of driftwood. It was smooth and pale, heavier than it looked. When she ran her fingers over it, she felt, for a moment, the faintest hum, like a distant song. "Look," she called to her brother. "It's pretty." He glanced over, uninterested. "It's a stick." "It's more than that," she said, frowning. She took it home. Years later, she would carve her own face into it, clumsy and earnest, and plant it in a spot where the ground felt right. She would sit before it and tell it stories of a land across the sea where the rivers moved on their own, where trees walked, where the ground itself said no. The driftwood would listen, would always did. Perhaps, in time, other children would join her. Perhaps they would learn to hear faint whispers in the grain. Perhaps they would decide to tread more lightly. In Westeros, the wind moved through vast, unbroken forests. It made a sound like laughter, like mourning, like a story told to an empty hall. It carried, faint and far, the echo of men's voices, growing softer with each generation and each wave that crashed against the ever-changing shore.